Ask not what we all be can do for you. Ask what you can do for we all be.
We're gonna take another. We got a lot of people want to talk today. Okay, I'm glad. It's like this is much needed conversation. We're gonna go to area code 904. Y'all in the air. Welcome to We All Be.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Jackson, and I'm calling in. My son Nathaniel III was murdered in a town called Waycross, Georgia.
Oh, yes. Is your mom on the line, too? Is your mom called in? Has she called in, too?
Yes, she is. Yes.
What's the area code that she's calling from? Is she with you right now?
It's 912.
912. I don't see her on the call, but go ahead, sister. I want to offer my condolences to after your son. It's a travesty, and I'm glad you called in. And can you please tell us, what went down with your son and what's going on now?
The basics of what we were told, and from what we could see, I was actually headed down during the time that my son, the same day actually my son was murdered. He was visiting in Waycross, which is my hometown. Mm-hmm. He's originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and it was Good Friday before Easter. And we were told that he was shot in the back by two white people, and the basics of that is he was at a party, and we don't know who took him to the party. We don't know how he got there, but he was supposed to be waiting for me to pick him up and take him to my mom's for the holiday. And that never happened. We was told several different stories about his death. He was supposedly, him and another female was the only black at this party. The person that shot my son was a racist. He has Hitler all over his body. And from what I was told, it hadn't been long since he was released from jail. My son has no record. He was a good child. I mean, the typical teenager. He was 20 years old, and the guys that had something to do with his death, they had been felons. They had been in several situations, and even after the charges was dropped, they were indicted for murder for my son by a grand jury, and a preliminary hearing was formed when the media kind of died down with what had happened in that town. And we heard about a brief hearing that was taking place. And it was supposed to be for the charges to be brought against one of the Mills, the murderers. He was being charged with drugs and something else. Guns and a whole bunch of other stuff. But we all showed up, the family showed up to this hearing. And when they saw that all the family was there, they went into the chambers, the DA and his lawyer and the judge. And when they came back out, it was about dropping the charges with the case with my son. And we were told nothing. We had never been told to even come to that hearing. But I felt like we should have been there because it had something to do with the murderer. And afterwards, I was told that the charges would be brought back up, which never happened. And here we are 5 years later, and I'm still fighting for justice for my son. And they have gotten off of every charge that have been brought up against them. And I don't know if it's allowed, but the guy's name was Reynolds and Mills. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a series of this happening. And in Waycross, it's a cover-up. I don't care what anyone says. I believe that with everything in me. It's so many cases that's been dropped or dismissed, and the media won't touch it because, of course, when it comes down to a murder in that town, you're going to go straight to the DA. You're going to try to find out what happened. Well, when you go to them, it's shut down. So no coverage can get in to that town. And this is what we're getting ready to have a march and rally now, actually Thursday, on behalf of all the murders that have happened in the surrounding towns and there. But I agree with what I was, the information that I was hearing. This is an attack on us as a people. I feel like we got to do something, and now it's time to take a national stand against wherever you are, whatever town you're in. You got to do something, because it will cause the elimination of our people, of our men, because, I mean, it's happening to women too, but the majority hit is on men. You get the men out of the way, and then you can basically do what you want with the women. But I feel like it is something that we need to address more. Our people, we have a lot of people that come out and give speeches, and then they disappear. Or they say something against what's happening because they don't live in our world. And when I say our world, they're living in the rich world, you know, behind their cash, and they're not coming into reality of what's really going on out here. Our kids are dying in numbers, and they're killing them in cold blood. And nothing is being done. It's being brushed away as, oh, they made a move. My son has never been charged with any type of drugs or using drugs or anything like that. But this case was rubbed off as, he must have been trying to purchase or rob for marijuana. How do you go from never having anything like that happen to this is what's going on? So I'm telling people, you need to stand up, and you need to really take a stand on what's really going on in this country.
That's bad. I mean, also, I want to bring your mom in on the discussion. I see Sister Jeanette. Are you there, Sister Thomas?
Hi.
Well, welcome to Ware. Yeah, it's good. Sister Jeanette Thomas, you are the grandmother of Brother Nathaniel. Now, you told me in D.C. that your grandson was brought to that place by his uncle. Is that correct? Is another relative named Nathaniel?
Yeah, from the police leaving the scene, and from the police leaving where my grandson Nathaniel Lee III got shot at. We were told that the police followed his uncle to his uncle's sister's house and asked did he know anything about a robbery. And so on the day that he was murdered, he was with his uncle that day. So for all we know, my grandson was with his uncle Nathan. Nathan is named Nathan Lee. And from being with the uncle taking him over, we believe, over to his sister's house. He found out he had a sister. And as his uncle took him over to the sister's house. And from there he wound up over to this house where he got shot in the back. And the gentleman, named David Reynolds, my daughter spoke of the pretrial. That's the pretrial we went to, you know. And his name was David Reynolds. It was his marijuana felony charge that the family showed up at. And as my daughter spoke, as my daughter spoke about the family showed up there. So, but I wanted to clarify that name, David Reynolds. Andre Mills is the one that shot him in the back. The other gentleman that's got AKA on his body, Hitler.
What's the guy named that shot your grandson? What's his name again?
His name is Andrew Mills.
And I want to ask y'all this. Do y'all hold the uncle responsible for, or partially responsible for your grandson and son's death? Y'all feel like the uncle?
Let me answer that, please.
Okay. Go ahead.
Let me answer that. I'm sorry. Now, this is the matter with that. We cannot be sure of that this is just a presumption. I don't want to put out there that we're saying that this happened, but I know for a fact that my son was with his uncle. His uncle stated that he never saw my son that day, and that's not true. We know that he saw him. His aunt was the one that told us, both of his aunts, that he was with him that day. They came and got a key from her, and I actually have that key in my possession because that key was with my son. That was one of his last possessions. So that's my proof that he was with his uncle. Why is his uncle saying that he was not with him that day? I have no idea. Yeah. But we have not been able to get that addressed. So I don't want us really going that route right now. But I can say that yes, we do know that he was with him that day. Now, whether or not he was the one responsible for taking him wherever he took him, we don't know that for a fact.
He did know the folks that might be responsible for the killing of your son, correct? He did have a relationship with those folks, the uncle, right?
He was just getting acquainted with his uncle. My son hadn't been in the picture around them. This was an uncle from a second set of kids. His dad his dad was married to his granddad was married to his dad's mom, and then he started a second set of kids. And this was his uncle from the second set of kids.
Okay.
So he was not, he didn't know them that well, and they were the same age.
Okay.
Hey, Ron, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Tony Brown again.
Yes.
This is what and certainly I can understand your pain for 5 years of not having any closure about your son's death or your grandson, man. My condolences still, because y'all still have an open flesh wound, and it's been festering for 5 years. Part of the problem with the Justice Department is there is no black families. Certainly when unarmed black men are killed at the hands of police, the district attorney is supposed to have somebody in his office to be a intermediary to the family to let them know what the procedure is, what's going on, when trial dates are coming up. So you're telling me that these two guys or these two suspects were brought up on charges and all the charges were dropped, and the only way that y'all found out that they were dropped, that y'all surprisingly showed up at a hearing that y'all weren't even notified about?
It was not even the hearing for that. They were already indicted. So that hearing that they
were indicted. So what happened to the trial? If they were indicted, what happened?
We never went to trial. And when we tell this story, people do not believe. We never got a.
So you got a grand jury indictment, and you have a district attorney that has never set a trial date and brought these two guys to justice?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Have they ever been arrested?
Excuse me. Yes, I have the newspaper article right here in front of me. I'm looking at it, and this newspaper article, I had to pull it out because it just stated that murder charges dismissed. Judge overturned grand jury felony murder indictment in the shooting of Lee. They went into a hearing for something else, but because the entire family showed up and we let them know we were there, they went in the chambers. The DA wouldn't even talk to me. I'm like, what's going on? He wouldn't talk to me. So my question is, I had to face reality with this. And this is the question that I have. What do you do when the justice system is corrupt? What do you do in that case?
Well, let me tell you what we've been able to do here in Louisiana since Gina. Now, we talked about Gina 7 years ago and the two-tier judicial system. Make a long story short, Michael Bell hit a white kid who had been calling his friend nigga all day. This was after the noose incident. And knocked the kid out. Next thing you know, all 6 of these kids were brought in and all were charged with attempted second-degree murder. Life taken away from them. Judge came in. They were all initially charged with, what was it, Ron? What was it? Assault, felony, not felony, but misdemeanor assault. I think was the initial investigation. Right. But the DA came in there, saw something that wasn't there and said, I'm going to teach these niggas a lesson and I'm going to get them all. And pulled Michael Bell, the two 3 of them out of juvenile facility, stuck them all in a big boy jail, grown man jail for 6 years, and we were able to get them out. The one thing that we were able to do, when you got a corrupt, like, and y'all say Waycross, Georgia?
Waycross, Georgia.
Okay, and Waycross, Georgia is about 50 miles north of Jacksonville, Florida. I was a news reporter for ABC with Channel 17 in Jacksonville for 2 years in the early 90s. So I know about Waycross. I've been there reporting there. And you're right. When you go to Waycross, even when I was there in the 90s, it's like going in a time warp. I felt like I was going back to someplace in the 50s as it pertains to how white people were treating black folk. I remember that vividly. So I already know that things hadn't changed in Waycross, and it's still the same old in Waycross. What we have to do is we have to initially go to the FBI. What we have done is, and like Ron made a point, that we have established a blueprint here since Gina, and let me tell you, I've used it time and time again, a network, I call it a network of hope, but that hope lives within the confines of the law. So I bypass the local law enforcement. I immediately go to the FBI, and then if the FBI doesn't give us any satisfaction, we go to the Justice Department immediately. There is a readily number and a department within the Justice Department where they take care of civil rights cases, whether it's a violation within the school system as it pertains to your school or some sort of criminality involving police. They have that department, and you can call Washington, D.C. But you start with the federal government. You start with the FBI. Just as we did in the 50s and the 60s in the early civil rights movement when we weren't getting justice in Mississippi during the civil rights cases back then, many of those local courts would, just like today, they will not get an indictment. They're not going to bring these white folk to court. They're going to run it through the court system bureaucracy, and 4 or 5 years later, we're going to be stuck just as this family is about your grandson and your son, Daniel. We got to go immediately to the feds. We have to establish relationships to them, and we have to beat down their door and ask the feds to get involved immediately when something happens to our children. That's what we've been able to do here in Louisiana. And if that doesn't work, get online now. Use the social media because, Ron, you already know, I was the only one talking about Gina for 6 months before it got a hold to mainstream media. But we were talking about it online. I was blogging about it. I was writing about it. And we have to start utilizing the social media. But immediately bypass the local law enforcement and go straight to the feds. That's what we've been able to do.
Okay.
Can I say something a minute?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The gentleman that's talking now, for the question that he was asking my daughter Cecilia, on behalf of the charges that was dropped against David Reynolds, what was going on was David Reynolds was in a pretrial, and the pretrial was his marijuana felony drug charge. That's what he was there for. And we walked in, and when we walked in... So you're talking about
a completely separate trial about something completely different?
Yes.
No, this is the pretrial that brought them to drop the malice murder charge. That's what I'm trying to explain, because the gentleman was asking about the charges being dropped, you know. But my daughter didn't go in. She told him that we showed up at a hearing. It was a pretrial. David Reynolds was charged with possession of marijuana, and it was a felony charge that they charged him with. And what they done was, when we walked in there, I walked over to Barnhill, the DA, and Rick Curry. The Barnhill is the assistant DA. Rick Curry is the head DA. I walked over to the victim advocate, Tammy, and I asked Tammy what was going on. Can she tell us? Tammy stated to me that she would speak to Barnhill. They never come back to the family. But what I was trying to say was that David Reynolds, they dropped, once we was in there, the felony marijuana charge that was brought up on David Reynolds. They turned around and added, as my daughter said, my grandson into David Reynolds' case. That's what happened. And so Rick Curry, the head DA, after everything was over with, he took us around the hallway in an empty room hallway. I mean, not an empty room, excuse me, an empty hallway. And we discussed with him about the charges. Oh, it was the wrong charges was dropped. My daughter stated, Cecilia, she stated, we'll pick it back up. Well, if y'all find some new evidence, then we'll pick it back up.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, when you asked the question about them getting in touch with us, you know the Brown case? When my grandson got murdered, I left 2 o'clock from Albany, Georgia. I was living in Albany, Georgia. I got there Waycross, Georgia at 4, went to the hospital. The lady that was speaking earlier stated that they didn't, some information was about, they told her that her son was not there. Well, at the hospital when I got there, I asked to see my grandson. My daughter was she had gotten in Waycross about 11. My daughter left Waycross, Georgia, and went to Albany, Georgia, only to find out that my grandson had died. But I came trying to meet my daughter. And what I'm saying is that to be with my daughter after she was here, and I thought she was here. But when I got to the hospital, they lied and told me that they had sent him on to the crime lab, okay? But Rick Curry, the DA, when my daughter got here that Saturday, the 10th, he died on the 9th. I mean the 10th. She got here the 11th. When my daughter got here, you think the police came and talked to us? They did not come. We set up an appointment to go to them to discuss about what happened to my daughter's child. They did not reach out to us, period. They lied and told my daughter that anything come up, they would send her a letter. They would call her, get in touch with her. They did it one time. After that, we never heard from them again. Okay? So you, the DAs, you representing my grandson. I also lost my baby boy the same year, 2009, December the 30th. When I got to Jacksonville with my other 2 sons, the police came right on him and the African lady. They came and they talked to me about what happened to my child. Why couldn't these police here, the DA, the police and the DA, the chief of police is named Chief Tanner. Chief Tanner is the one that we went to. We set up an appointment by his, he has Nathaniel III has a cousin, his daddy's cousin named Ludine Lee. She used to work for the police department. So we went, the father, my daughter, the aunt, the cousin, Ludine, and his granddaddy. My grandson, my grandson's daddy. We went in there. But my question is, we seeing this bike to bike, Miss Brown. I don't know if they did it to Trayvon Martin's mother. Did they do it to Jordan's mother? Did they do it to Kendrick's mother? Not telling them anything, not communicating, as the gentleman just said. Not communicating with the family like they supposed to. Why are you signaling us out that you don't want to talk to us to find out what's going on? But I would say this also.
Good point.
Had my grandson, when he got shot in the back, we were told that he was standing on the outside of this place by a witness, stated that he was standing on the outside. Had he not ran down to Miss Carter's house and told them to call the police, that somebody had shot him in the back, I believe we would have never found my child. The reason why I'm saying this, because when the police showed up at the house where he was shot at, they lied and stated that they didn't know nothing about any shooting. We don't know nothing about no shooting. Ain't nobody got shot down here.
Wow.
So I wanted to get that point out because, like my daughter said, we don't want to really say stuff that we really don't have concrete evidence about right now. So it can come back at us.
I'm going to ask y'all this, though. Did the uncle have a relationship with the white guys? Did he know him well? The uncle. Did he know the white men well?
The officer?
Did he know, like, the uncle, like the house? Now, did his uncle, did Nathaniel's uncle know those guys well that he left his nephew with?
Yes, sir. They stated in the preliminary hearing that John Thigpen is the lawyer. In the preliminary hearing, while we was there, Thigpen questioned each witness. And each one of those witnesses say, I don't know Nathaniel Lee III. I know Nathan. Thigpen, judge sit there and let Thigpen tell them, oh, no, you mean Nathaniel Lee III. Again, each witness stated, I don't know Nathaniel Lee III. I know Nathan. They kept saying they knew Nathan. And then, because I can talk about the preliminary hearing, and then David Reynolds stated that he ain't stole my drugs, he ain't took my money. So why did you drop? Why would Rick Kirby, the head DA, and Bond Hill sit there and didn't say nothing while Thigpen was coercing them, telling them, you mean Nathaniel Lee III, don't you? The judge didn't say nothing. But first of all, my grandson, Nathaniel Lee III, he shouldn't have been in that case in the beginning, with David Reynolds' case. His name shouldn't have been brought up, at all. It shouldn't have been brought up. But you collaborated this whole thing because you know that there was an innocent black child got killed. You never put in the newspaper that these boys was convicted felons. They were drug dealers. Nene wouldn't have never, we call him Nene. Nathaniel Lee III wouldn't have never been around people like that. He didn't hang. I raised my children up. I raised them up to make sure that they don't get themselves caught up in situations or they do something that will cause them to go to jail or prison. I raised my grandbabies the same way. These boys are good boys, every one of them. I'm still raising my other granddaughters and sons, the little ones. Yeah. This child was nothing like they said. Nothing like they said my grandson was. He'd never been here as a teenager.
I'm sorry. I just want to say something. This is Nathaniel's mom again. Everything that my mom is saying is true. When we went to the preliminary hearing, it was a circus. You went, even the NAACP was with us. You wouldn't believe how they sat there and they, like she said, coerced everything they said. It was like they were changing it. Like, no, you meant this and you meant that. And I'm like, how is this allowed? This and by the way, this wasn't the original judge that set down the indictment. They changed judges, and they got this judge to overturn the indictment. So this is the kind of things that are happening. And we're sitting there, all of these people that are sitting in court with us, the family, everybody, we just had to sit there and watch and wasn't allowed to express any kind of emotion, you know, and it's just, I don't understand how could that happen.
Wow, well, I just want to offer my condolences. I know it's 5 years late, but, you know, I just want, what was, like, so the Thursday march, how can people, like, how can we find more information on that? How can we contact you all to find out more information about what's going on with the march and other things?
The march is going to be actually Thursday at 11 o'clock. Waycross, Georgia. We're going to actually meet in front of the police department, and that's off of Oak Street. And we're going to march to the courthouse, the Ware County Courthouse.
Okay.
And that's on Waller Street?
No, Church Street.
It's on Church Street.
So this is like 11 o'clock Eastern, like this Eastern time, 11 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay, I'll make sure I post it through my networks and whatnot. And is there any other way, like what's after the march? Like any other action events or anything else planned? Try to raise more awareness.
We're going to actually, yes, it's going to be speaking done at the rally because it will be a rally held once we reach the courthouse.
Okay.
So there will be speaking. There will be a meeting held right after, so we can talk to different families. We're inviting all of the families out that have been affected by the injustice of the system. So it's just a gathering, a march for justice for our loved ones. So anyone that has had any type of injustice done and have not had their voice heard, we're asking them to come out to be heard, to express what you feel about what's going on, and let's try to see if we can get anything done. And also, I want to mention that we have been trying to get someone for the last 3 years to help us. People don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. And this is my main goal, is to try to, find out what can we do, where do we go. And you did give me some good information. But when starting out, when people lose hope, they don't know if anybody's going to help them. That is the biggest thing. And when you're talking about down south, people are already discouraged about different things. And when it comes down to getting justice, they feel like they can't get justice, that nobody's going to listen to them. So we need help. It's not just me. It's so many more people in that town that has just given up, and they don't feel like nothing is going to be done.
And also, like, after the march, go ahead. I'm sorry, sister. Go ahead.
Let me give you the address while you online before we get off. The address is 512 Oak Street. The courthouse is 800 Church Street.
Okay.
We will be leaving from 512 Oak Street, as my daughter said. In the margin, well, they asked that we meet there at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And the march will start at 11:30.
Okay, that's great. And also, what can we do after, like, the march and rally? Is there any way to contact you all to follow up, like email, phone number, website, anything that I can post as well?
Yes, I would gladly give my phone number. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Would you like for me to give it now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. And Ron, I'd like to get it, too, because I'd like to bring them on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
For the rally on my show.
Yeah, Brother Tony got a great and huge following.
My number and my email, too. But go ahead, honey. Give me your phone number.
It's area code 904-554-8306. And my name is
What's your name again?
Jackson.
I know your son is Nathaniel III. What's your name, darling?
Cecilia Jackson. That's Cecilia.
Got it.
Okay, great.
And Ron, let me get my information out. My name is Tony Brown. I'm a broadcast journalist by profession. Like Ron had mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm the one that first exposed the Gina 6 case and kind of helped with that. But I've been covering at least 12 unarmed murders of black men in Louisiana alone. My show airs on about 5 stations throughout the state of Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. And what y'all be talking about as far as trying to get the help and trying to get pointed in the right direction to get the help y'all need, been there, did that, I can help. I do have a Hope Network, and we can get y'all in contact with the Justice Department, the FBI, and anybody else outside of that local government. But my number, this is Tony Brown, my number is 318-792-5940. That's 318-792-5940. My email is Eyes Open. That's the moniker of my show. My show is called Eyes Open with Tony Brown. But my email is Eyes Open T, like Tony, Eyes Open T Brown at yahoo.com. That's Eyes Open T Brown at yahoo.com. Send me an email. Send me information about your store. I guarantee we'll allow you guys to come on and at least tell your story to my listeners in this 200-city, 3-state area.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything.
Well, y'all keep y'all, and remember, y'all are not alone. There's a lot of parents and grandparents just like yourself. If we all start getting together and communicating together, just as we're doing with this Michael Garner situation, the Michael Brown situation, just like in Waycross where Nathaniel III was killed and shot by these 2 white folk who they know did it but will do nothing about it. We've been down that road here in Louisiana. Just like Georgia, Louisiana ain't no different. We still low-hanging fruit, and they still want to lynch us from trees, and this time they're doing it in the courts. They're doing it in the court system.
And can I say something before you all get off the air?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The lady that I was speaking about, had my grandson not ran down to Miss Carter's house, as the young lady spoke a little bit earlier about someone being a nurse and then come to his aid.
Yes.
Miss Carter was a retired nurse where my grandson was. She attended to him until the ambulance came. Mm-hmm. But the first ambulance, the rescue ambulance came. They did not have an oxygen tank for my grandson. They dispatched the second ambulance to him. But the question, my daughter, is another thing that my daughter wants to bring to the public, that a police officer in the ambulance questioning a person and they're in critical condition that needs to get to the hospital, that we need to come up with some kind of decision on how we can stop the police, which I thought that they couldn't, they could not question someone when they were seriously where they couldn't hardly breathe. And Miss Carter stated to them that y'all need to get them to the hospital.
Wow.
So I wanted to bring that up too, because the young lady.
Ma'am, they're not supposed to do that. If a victim's life is in jeopardy and the police are holding an ambulance and them medical people up from getting that person to the hospital, that's a crime within itself. That is not supposed to happen.
Well, they did it, and they would not take him on to the hospital. She begged them twice to take him on, and plus they did not use sirens when they took him to. So it was no rush for them to get him there, and he was still awake. We were told that he did not go unconscious until he actually arrived at the hospital, and then he went unconscious and he was rushed into surgery where he later passed away.
So Ron, you see, the problem is our lives don't matter. Even from the police officers who kill our kids, to the white people who kill them in the court system, even to the medical personnel who take their time getting our children to the hospital when they can be survived. Now, the case in New Iberia, that woman wanted to help, but police wouldn't even allow that nurse who was outside to go and help that child. And he sat dying there for 20 minutes before they even got him to a hospital. He could have lived. So we're seeing the systematic eradication of black people in America from the justice system all the way to the hospital system. And it's about economics. It's about, like the sister said earlier that called in from Mississippi, it's about money. The answer is always money, so what's the problem? And money is something that many of us do not have. We don't have that economic power that other cultures or other people have, and it's a travesty.
I want to thank Sister Jackson and Sister Thomas for calling in with that. I mean, it's a horrible story, but like today, like Haile Selassie said so many years ago, today us, tomorrow you. It can happen to all of us. Just like that, and like Brother Brown was saying, they are wiping us out systemically, and this is genocide. This is systemic genocide, and this is war. So we got to be smart about how we fight this war and start working together more and sharing more in this time of need. So I want to thank you, sisters, for calling in. I feel sorry for what happened to your grandson and son. But know, like Brother Brown said, y'all not alone, and we'll keep updated on this story. Thank y'all so much, and God bless. We love you madly.